Welcome back to our channel. Hope you all are fine and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's begin with another day of aviation miracle. Night stretched endless over the Atlantic. A sea of black water reflected the faint glimmer of distant stars. The horizon lost somewhere between air and ocean. High above, at 36,000 feet, Flight 729 hummed through the dark, steady, calm ordinary. To the passengers, it was just another red-eye from Lisbon to New York. Children slept against cabin windows. A businessman scrolled through old emails. A young couple whispered promises only the night could hear. Inside the cockpit, Captain D'Souza checked his instruments, everything normal. No turbulence, no storm, no warning. Then, at 2:47 a.m., something changed. The stars vanished. Not slowly, instantly, as if someone had drawn a curtain across the sky. For a moment, it was pure black outside. A darkness so complete, it swallowed the reflection of the cabin lights. Then came a tremor. Barely noticeable at first, like a pulse in the air. The plane's wings flexed once, twice, and the navigation lights began to flicker. Inside, a passenger stirred awake, confused by the faint static in his headphones. The in-flight map froze mid-update. "Connection lost," blinked the tiny Wi-Fi symbol. In the cockpit, alarms began to flash, navigation signal drop. Autopilot fail, altitude variance. But the strange thing was, the instruments weren't showing danger. They were showing nothing. No readings, no altitude, no ground speed, only an empty glowing screen. Then, without warning, the plane fell silent. Engines humming. Systems running, but not a single sound over the radio. The pilots called out air traffic control, didn't answer. They switched channels, emergency frequencies, still nothing, only static. Outside, a faint shimmer moved across the clouds below. Like lightning, but not lightning. It pulsed in smooth rhythm, circling the aircraft once, twice, 3 times. And then it was gone. The passengers felt nothing unusual. The cabin lights dimmed softly, then brightened again. But at that same moment, radar operators across the North Atlantic logged an impossible event. Flight 729 vanished. No mayday call, no explosion, no debris. One frame it existed, the next empty air. For the next 2 hours, controllers scrambled. Nearby flights were diverted. Search patterns were drawn. Rescue beacons were deployed along the suspected crash route. But there was no crash, no trace. Families woke to breaking news before dawn. Passenger jet missing over the Atlantic. Phones rang unanswered. Messages went unread. At 7:19 a.m., the rescue search officially began. At 8:46, it was expanded. By 9:12, all radar logs confirmed the same thing. Flight 729 had disappeared in clear weather, without signal, without trace. And then it began. At 9:41 a.m., 4 hours after the last radar ping, a strange phenomenon was reported by ground networks in Portugal, Iceland, and parts of the eastern U.S. Airline servers started receiving Wi-Fi connection pings from an unknown airborne device labeled Flight 729. It shouldn't have been possible. Wi-Fi beacons from that altitude could not transmit without power, range, or an active satellite link. Yet the signal was strong, as if the plane was flying right above them. Then, one by one, phones began to buzz. First, a flight attendant's husband in Lisbon received a message. "We're fine. It's beautiful here." He froze. The message came from his wife's number. Time-stamped 5 hours after the aircraft vanished. Minutes later, more families began reporting the same. Dozens of text messages, all sent from passengers aboard Flight 729, but all at the same exact time. Most messages were short, simple, peaceful. "Don't worry, we're safe. It's so quiet here. We saw the sunrise twice." Investigators verified the phone numbers. Every sender matched a manifest name from the missing flight. But when telecom engineers traced the signal origin, all messages came from a non-existent network. ID1 last used by the plane's onboard. Wi-Fi router. The router, according to the airline, had lost power at 2:48 a.m. That was when the plane disappeared. Hours turned into days. Families camped at terminals, clutching phones, reading those last texts again and again, searching for meaning, comfort, logic. Media called it a hoax. Scientists said it was delayed satellite data or signal reflection. But experts reviewing the network metadata found something strange. Every message had been encrypted by a clock. Signature exactly. 3 hours ahead of Earth time. It was as if they'd come from somewhere or someone else. Week later, the ocean search was called off. No wreckage, no oil trail, no signals. Flight 729 was officially declared lost without trace. But the messages remained. And then quietly, a final transmission appeared, this time not as a text, but as an image, sent from one passenger's phone to their mother's number. It showed a horizon of golden light above white clouds. In the center of the frame, faint silhouettes of people standing calm, facing the sun. No one could say where it came from or how. The image metadata contained no coordinates, only a timestamp, one that didn't match any known Earth time zone. It simply read, Sunrise 2. To this day, every system log still shows the same mystery. A flight that vanished from radar, yet somehow found a signal strong enough to reach home. The world called it impossible, but for the families who received those final messages, it wasn't a mystery. It was a promise. That somewhere beyond the clouds, where technology ends and silence begins. They made it through. The world expected grief. What it didn't expect was data. The morning after the disappearance, investigators filled a secure operations room. Cold white walls, glowing screens, wires crawling across the floor. In the center, a digital board displaying a single line of text that defied every rule of aviation and physics. 45 messages received, all from Flight 729, sent 4 hours after disappearance. At first, the team suspected a mass spoofing attack, some hacker with a terrible sense of timing. But the metadata said otherwise. Each text was routed through the plane's onboard Wi-Fi router, a device that had lost power at the exact moment the aircraft vanished from radar. Impossible. Yet the log said different. The lead analyst, a quiet man with gray eyes, ran a new scan. Each message's digital signature pulsed in a pattern he had never seen. Not random, not cellular delay, something rhythmic. Like the heartbeat of a machine that no longer existed. The team examined the timestamps. They weren't in GMT, EST, or any recognizable zone. They were all 3 hours ahead of Earth's time. Not delayed, not early, just elsewhere. Across the world, airport terminals had turned into shelters of hope and dread. People sat with coffee gone cold, phones clutched tight, screenshots printed and folded like sacred artifacts. A mother stared at her daughter's message. It's quiet here. A husband replayed the last ping again and again, proof that her phone was still alive. A child traced his father's text on an iPad. We saw the sunrise twice. No one understood what it meant, but no one doubted the truth of it. The tone was too calm, too real. Not written in panic, not a goodbye, almost like a postcard. But from where? By afternoon, tech investigators tried recreating the message environment. They simulated satellite lag, fiber optic reflections, air-to-ground backscatter, every known glitch. None worked. Nothing could replicate the strange time-shifted encryption. Nothing matched the Wi-Fi router ID of Flight 729. And one detail chilled them. The router ID wasn't just active. It showed movement. The signal hopped across the Atlantic in a path that suggested the plane was flying a straight line at high altitude. But satellite logs showed no such object, and radar confirmed the sky was empty. A moving signal without a plane, a ghost without a shadow. Among the messages, investigators focused heavily on one preview image sent to a mother's number. A horizon glowing with golden white light, clouds stretched like an endless sea, silhouettes of passengers standing calmly, gazing forward. Analysis showed no CGI markers, no compression anomalies, no artificial noise. Real, but not from any known Earth aircraft altitude. Cloud curvature was wrong. The light spectrum was unfamiliar. The angle of the sun was impossible. The photo suggested a sunrise from a place where the sun climbed faster rising, twice within a single cycle, a world where time bent differently. Late that evening, a breakthrough emerged. A telecom engineer discovered something hidden buried below the message metadata. Not words, not numbers. A sound file, 8 seconds long, attached invisibly to the Wi-Fi transmission packets. They extracted it, cleaned the noise, amplified the faint frequency in the background. What came out was not static. It was wind. Soft, slow, steady, like the hum of a plane drifting through an endless sky. Then came a faint rhythmic pulse, steady, even, peaceful. Not mechanical, not electrical. More like a heartbeat, not human, not alien. Something beyond either. The analysts looked at each other, no one willing to speak what they were thinking. This wasn't the sound of distress, or turbulence, or chaos. This was the sound of flight. Ongoing flight. Flight 729. Still moving, somewhere. When they isolated the final second of the recording, something even stranger appeared. A burst of light energy. The audio spectrum brightened, as if the sound itself had caught sunlight, and mixed within the brightness a faint streak of harmonic tones. Not words, more like an impression. Warmth, peace, calm, and then an echo. A sound like the first thin line of dawn breaking across a horizon. Not one sunrise, but two, layered, as if the aircraft was moving between two frames of time, two mornings overlapping each other. Exactly what the text had said. We saw the sunrise twice. The search that changed everything. At midnight, a new plan formed. Not a crash search, not a debris search. A pattern search based on the movement of the Wi-Fi signal. A predicted line of travel, one that matched none of the Earth's atmospheric corridors. It suggested a path slightly upward, not vertically, but as if flying along a curve above the world. A layer of sky not used by aircraft. A band where sunlight strikes differently, where time ticks slower, or faster, or both. Planes couldn't fly there, but something else could. Something that had taken Flight 729 along with it. The data team knew they couldn't announce this. The world demanded closure. Governments demanded certainty. But the truth was neither closure nor certainty, only possibility. They printed the messages, the image, the audio signature, the time-stretched sunrise pattern, and quietly, they handed it to the families. Not as evidence, but as comfort. A father looked at the image of light, tears shining in his eyes. A mother pressed her fingers to the soft glow of the cloud horizon. None of them spoke. They didn't need to. Somewhere beyond the edge of understanding, their loved ones had sent back something impossible. A moment of peace, a glimpse of morning, a reminder that the story wasn't over. Investigators stayed late into the night, running models, tracing patterns, listening to that steady, peaceful wind over and over. Every time they played it, something changed. Not in the sound, but in what they felt. It didn't sound like absence. It sounded like continuation, as if the plane had never fallen, as if it was still gliding through some layer between worlds, sending back the only message it could. We are still here, and somewhere, far beyond the Atlantic darkness, a thin silver line of dawn glowed again. A second sunrise. For 3 days, the world talked about nothing except one question. Where is Flight 729? And just when investigators thought they had seen every kind of aviation anomaly ever recorded, this case found a new way to break the rules. On the third night at 02:41 a.m., the exact time the flight vanished, the Search Command Center suddenly lit up with alarms. A red alert flashed across the main screen. Unknown signal detected. Source: Flight 729, unconfirmed. Dr. Zara froze. Captain Hasib stood up so fast his chair fell. A younger analyst shouted, "Sir, it's coming from 400 kilometers off the coast. Altitude, 0. That means ocean level. But we scanned that sector," Zara said breathlessly. "For 72 hours, nothing." The analyst swallowed. "Ma'am, the signal only appears at this exact time. For 2 minutes. Same 2 minutes that are missing from the cockpit recordings." Everyone exchanged looks. This wasn't random. It was synchronized. Like someone, or something, was replaying a moment that didn't belong to our world anymore. They patched the signal through the speakers. At first it was only a low hum, then soft rushing, then a faint beat like a heartbeat inside a machine. Captain Hasib leaned forward. Boost clarity. Static sharpened. Noise peeled away. And then a voice, faint, stretched, farther away than distance should allow. Flight 729 calling! Zara's hand flew to her mouth. It was Captain Rehan's voice, but distorted, as if traveling through thick water. Or time. Captain Hasib whispered, "Rehan, what did you fly into?" The recording continued. "Unexpected light on coordinates." Static swallowed the rest. For a moment, the room was silent. Everyone's spine tingled the same way. It wasn't just a distress call. It was a delayed distress call. From a flight that didn't exist anymore. The analysts worked frantically to clean the audio, but only one part became fully clear. Slight. Coordinates? Jutuned again. Hinti do it arai. Zara quickly pulled up a map. A square blinked in the middle of the Atlantic. A young analyst frowned, confused. Ma'am, nothing is there. Not even an island. Just open water. Hasib shook his head. No, something was there. At least for those 2 minutes. The room filled with a heavy silence. Everyone felt it, but no one said it. Maybe Flight 729 didn't crash. Maybe it went somewhere. And maybe it was trying to come back. A Coast Guard search vessel reached the coordinates at dawn. The ocean was calm, too calm. The lead diver, Commander Omar, reported over radio. Sir, we're seeing... Reflections. Metal debris? Zara asked. No, ma'am. Not debris. It's like light bending under the water, perfectly circular. The entire command center went quiet. Light? Bending? Not possible. Send us the live feed, Hasib ordered. The underwater drone camera flickered onto the big screen. Everyone leaned in. At first, all they saw were shifting currents, then circle of shimmering light pulsating gently on the ocean floor. Not touching anything, not attached to anything, just floating, as if reality itself was rippling around a hole. The drone got closer. Suddenly, the screen glitched flashes of blue, sharp distortions. The feed cut for 3 seconds. When it came back, the circle was gone. Omar's panicked voice echoed through the radio. Sir, the light, it just blinked out. Hasib whispered, just like the plane did. That night, another message came. Not from the distress channel, from the same unknown phone number as before. The one that sent the eerie message. We saw the sunrise twice. This time, it was a photo. A blurry, shaking picture taken from a plane window. 2 suns. One above the horizon, one slightly lower. Zara stared at it for a long time. Someone is alive, she whispered. Someone is trying to tell us something. Hasib wasn't convinced, but his eyes said hope had cracked his doubt. At exactly 0241 again, the radar picked up something new, a faint echo, like a ghost layer of the plane. But this time it didn't disappear at 243. Instead, the echo moved. Not forward, not backward. Sideways, almost like it was sliding across space. Captain Hasib muttered. This isn't turbulence. This is physics breaking, Zara whispered. Or rewriting. And then, the radar glowed bright red. Flight 729, reappearance probability 38%. Everyone froze. This was new. Never seen before. A system not predicting a weather change, but predicting the return of a missing aircraft. Ma'am, what does 38% even mean? The analyst asked quietly. Zara exhaled shakily. It means the plane is trying to come back, but it's not fully in our world. The room fell silent. Everyone felt the same chill. Flight 729 wasn't gone. Flight 729 was somewhere, and something was holding it there. Just before midnight, a janitor cleaning the waiting lounge at Karachi Airport reported something strange. A folded piece of paper, placed perfectly on seat 17A, the same seat number that belonged to a missing passenger. Security rushed the note to the investigation room. Zara unfolded it, heart pounding. 4 words. Shaky handwriting. Invisible pressure behind each letter. Don't stop searching. M. Who is M? Hasib asked. Zara looked at the passenger list. There was no M, no passenger with that initial. Not a single one. Unless the note wasn't written by someone on the manifest, but by someone who wasn't supposed to be there at all. Someone who knew what was really happening. Someone who survived. Or someone stuck between worlds. Zara stood up. We go back to the coordinates, she said firmly. At 0241, and we wait. Hasib nodded slowly. It's risky. But if that plane is coming back anywhere, it will be there. For the first time since the disappearance, the room felt united. Not certain, not safe, but hopeful. Someone on that plane was reaching out. And someone wanted to be found. The search wasn't over. It had only just begun. 4 minutes before the hour, the search vessel, Aquila, floated silently over the coordinates, where the shimmering circle had last appeared. The ocean was pitch black, gentle waves tapping against the steel hull. Every crew member stood tense, watching the digital clocks on their consoles as they counted down. Zara held her breath. Hasib stood beside her, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the water. This time, he whispered, we're going to see it. Zara didn't answer. She didn't trust her voice. The air around them felt heavier tonight, like the ocean was waiting too. The second the clock hit 0241, the ocean changed. Not violently, not loudly. Just unnaturally. The water directly beneath the vessel flattened, becoming a still, perfect mirror. The wind stopped. Even the ship creaked less. Sir, the sonar operator said nervously, I'm getting something. A faint blip appeared on the sonar screen. Then another. Then dozens. Zara's eyes widened. It was the shape of a fuselage. Altitude 0, the operator whispered. But it's not touching the ocean floor. It's floating. Hasib stepped closer to the railing and leaned over the dark water. A thin column of shimmering light rose beneath the surface. Everyone get back, he shouted. But no one moved. They were hypnotized, because the light grew brighter, stronger, more focused. And then something broke the surface. Not metal, not debris, a shadow, large, long, winged. Zara grabbed Hasib's arm. It's the plane, she breathed. It's coming up. The ocean began glowing from beneath, as if illuminated by a giant lamp. The light wasn't harsh. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. As the brightness grew, the crew heard a low rumble, but not from the water. It came from the air, a deep, vibrating hum, like the world adjusting itself. Hasib's radio crackled suddenly, static at first. Then, a voice, broken, faint, but unmistakable. Flight 729, requesting landing clearance. Zara's knees nearly gave out. That's Captain Rehan, she whispered. He's alive. More static, then another line. We can see the runway, but it's not yours. And the transmission cut. Zara pressed the earpiece to her head. Rehan, do you copy? Silence. Then the ocean light flared brilliantly, and the shadow rose again, this time clearly. The nose of the aircraft broke the surface. People gasped. Some cried outright, because Flight 729 wasn't wrecked. Not broken, not burned. It looked exactly as it did the moment it disappeared, as if time hadn't touched it, as if it had been suspended between two breaths. For one breathtaking moment, half the fuselage was visible, emerging from the glowing ocean beneath, surrounded by shimmering ripples of blue light. Then someone shouted, It's fading! The glow flickered. The nose of the aircraft blurred. Reality around it seemed to ripple. And then, blink. The entire plane vanished again. No splash, no sinking, no noise, just gone. The water returned to perfect darkness. The glow died instantly. The sonar screen went blank. Zara stared, unable to process. We saw it, she whispered. It was right there. Why did it disappear? Hasib clenched his jaw. It didn't disappear, he said slowly. It didn't finish crossing over. Back at the command center, everyone watched the feeds in stunned disbelief. At 0243, the exact time the plane always vanished or reappeared, Zara's phone buzzed. The same unknown number. Her hand shook as she opened the message. It wasn't a photo this time. It was a voice note. She pressed play. Static. Soft breathing. A trembling voice trying to hold itself together. If you can hear this, we're close. We can almost see you. Zara's eyes filled with tears. Another voice spoke faintly in the background. A woman. Panicked. Tell them not to stop. The recording cut abruptly. Then a last whisper from the captain. The light is opening again tomorrow night. Same time, don't leave. Zara lowered the phone slowly, heart pounding. Hasib asked quietly. What did he say? She wiped her eyes. He said they're coming back. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Zara straightened her shoulders, her voice steady. Prepare the ship, she commanded. Tomorrow night we wait again. This time, we bring them home. The entire team nodded, no hesitation. For the first time in days, the atmosphere wasn't heavy with fear. It was filled with hope. Flight 729 wasn't lost. It was fighting its way back. And tomorrow, the world would be waiting.